Have you ever wondered if a single chair could send a stronger message than a royal speech? At Buckingham Palace, every step, every smile, every handshake, and every seat has a meaning. To most people, it's just a dinner. But inside the royal family, a seating plan can become a message heard around the world. This week, royal watchers noticed something unusual. During an important state banquet, Princess Anne was seated beside King Charles. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla was positioned farther away. Within minutes, social media exploded. Newspapers began asking questions. Royal experts started offering different theories. And suddenly, a simple seating arrangement became one of the biggest royal stories of the week. But was this really a sign of growing tension inside the palace? Or was there another explanation hidden behind centuries of royal tradition? Today, we're taking a closer look, not at rumors, but at why one simple decision captured the attention of millions. A state banquet is one of the most formal events held by the British royal family. Foreign presidents, kings, queens, prime ministers, and senior diplomats are invited to Buckingham Palace for an evening that represents Britain's history, diplomacy, and tradition. Nothing is left to chance. The flowers, the music, the uniforms, even the order in which guests enter the room. Everything is carefully planned, including who sits beside the king. To an ordinary guest, a chair is simply a chair. Inside the monarchy, it can represent experience, responsibility, or the role someone is expected to play during an important occasion. That is why royal seating plans receive so much attention. Princess Anne has long been regarded as one of the hardest-working members of the royal family. For decades, she has quietly carried out hundreds of royal engagements every year. Unlike many public figures, she rarely seeks media attention. She simply continues working. That dedication has earned respect not only inside Britain, but around the world. King Charles has often relied on Anne during important public events. The two share decades of experience representing the crown. Their working relationship has always been known for discipline, professionalism, and mutual trust. Queen Camilla also plays an important role within the royal family. Since becoming queen consort, she has supported King Charles during countless official engagements. She has championed literacy programs, domestic violence awareness, and several charitable organizations. Her role beside the king has become familiar to the British public, which is exactly why many people noticed when the seating arrangement appeared different. Questions quickly followed. Was it simply protocol? Was it practical? Or was it symbolic? Royal experts were quick to remind everyone of one important fact. State banquets follow extremely detailed protocol. Sometimes seating depends on diplomatic rules. Sometimes it depends on visiting guests. Sometimes it reflects the order of official duties for that particular evening. Not every change signals disagreement, and not every photograph tells the complete story. Still, that didn't stop speculation. Within hours, online discussions suggested everything from palace strategy to family disagreements to hidden messages without official confirmation. Many of those claims remained exactly what they were: speculation. Inside Buckingham Palace, however, appearances matter. The royal family understands that millions of people analyze every public image, every photograph, every expression, every conversation, every seat, because symbolism has always been part of monarchy. Sometimes, people see meaning even where none was intended. Other times, a carefully planned detail really does carry significance. The challenge is knowing the difference. King Charles understands this better than almost anyone. After spending more than 70 years preparing to become king, he knows every public appearance will be examined in extraordinary detail. Even a brief moment captured by cameras can dominate headlines across the world. That reality has become part of modern royal life. Every decision is discussed. Every gesture is interpreted. Every appearance becomes a story. Princess Anne has never appeared interested in public attention. Those who have worked alongside her often describe her as practical, straightforward, and deeply committed to duty. Perhaps that is why many people see her as one of the monarchy's most dependable figures. She rarely speaks dramatically. She rarely responds to rumors. Instead, she simply continues working. That quiet consistency has become one of her defining characteristics. As guests arrived for the state banquet, everything appeared perfectly normal. The palace sparkled beneath the evening lights. Military bands welcomed international visitors. Historic paintings overlooked one of the grandest dining rooms in Britain. Staff moved with remarkable precision. Every place card had already been checked several times. Every glass polished, every detail carefully prepared. From the outside, it looked like another flawless royal occasion. But once photographs from inside the hall began appearing, royal watchers immediately noticed something unusual. Princess Anne was seated beside King Charles. Queen Camilla appeared elsewhere, and within minutes, questions spread across television, newspapers, and social media. Some believed it was a powerful royal signal. Others argued it was simply protocol. But everyone seemed to agree on one thing. People wanted answers. Because in the royal family, sometimes the smallest changes create the biggest headlines. And according to several royal commentators, the real story may not have been the seating itself. It may have been everything that happened before the guests ever entered the room, long before the cameras captured that famous photograph. The planning had already begun. State banquets are among the most carefully organized royal events in Britain. Every invitation, every arrival, every speech, and every seat is reviewed multiple times before the evening begins. Nothing is arranged at the last minute. That is why many royal observers believe the seating plan was never accidental, whether it reflected protocol, diplomacy, or practical planning. It was almost certainly discussed long before the guests arrived. Behind the scenes, Buckingham Palace follows centuries of royal tradition. Different officials work together to organize major state occasions. Their goal is simple: present a monarchy that appears united, professional, and prepared. Because when world leaders walk through the palace doors, every detail reflects Britain's image, even where members of the royal family are seated. Princess Anne has earned a reputation for reliability over many decades. Rain or shine, public attention or none at all. She continues carrying out royal duties with the same calm attitude. Many royal commentators have described her as one of the king's most dependable supporters. She rarely creates headlines, yet somehow, she often becomes one of the most respected figures inside the royal family. That respect has been built over a lifetime of service. King Charles understands the value of experience. Throughout his reign, he has often appeared alongside senior members of the family during important national occasions, not because of popularity, but because experience matters. Representing the crown requires confidence, discipline, and an understanding of royal tradition. Those qualities cannot be learned overnight. They are developed over decades. Queen Camilla also continues to play an important public role. She supports literacy projects, works with domestic abuse charities, and regularly accompanies the king during official engagements. Despite constant media speculation, the palace has continued presenting the king and queen together during major royal events. That is why this particular seating arrangement attracted so much public attention. People immediately began looking for hidden meaning within hours. Social media was filled with different theories. Some people claimed it reflected changing relationships inside the palace. Others suggested it was connected to royal protocol. A few even believed it signaled a major shift within the monarchy, but without any official confirmation. None of those theories could be treated as established fact. Sometimes, a photograph tells only part of the story. Royal experts often remind audiences that protocol can change depending on the event, the identity of visiting guests, diplomatic customs, security arrangements, and ceremonial traditions can all influence where people sit. That makes it difficult to draw conclusions from a single image alone. Still, the curiosity continued growing. Because symbolism has always fascinated royal watchers, as newspapers published photographs from the banquet. One image appeared again and again. King Charles, Princess Anne, and Queen Camilla seated elsewhere. That single photograph quickly became one of the most discussed royal images of the week. Television presenters debated it, royal commentators analyzed it, online audiences shared thousands of opinions. Some believed it represented stability, others believed it represented change. Everyone seemed to see something different. Meanwhile, Princess Anne remained exactly as she always has, quiet, professional, focused on her responsibilities. She made no public comment. She offered no explanation. She simply continued carrying out her duties. That silence only increased public curiosity. Because sometimes, silence creates more questions than words ever could. King Charles also avoided responding to the growing speculation. The palace released no special statement explaining the seating arrangement. Official business continued as usual. Charity visits continued. Meetings continued. Royal engagements continued. From the palace's perspective, there was nothing unusual to explain. But outside the palace walls, the discussion showed no signs of slowing down. One experienced royal commentator offered an interesting observation. The public often looks for hidden messages inside royal ceremonies. Sometimes those messages exist. Sometimes they don't. The challenge is knowing the difference. That simple remark captured the entire debate, because the British monarchy has always relied on symbolism, and symbolism naturally invites interpretation. As the banquet came to an end, guests left Buckingham Palace. The lights slowly dimmed, the music stopped, but the conversation had only just begun. Across Britain and around the world, millions of people continued asking the same question. Was this simply another carefully organized royal event? Or had the world just witnessed a small moment that would become part of a much bigger story? The confrontation did not happen in a grand ballroom or in front of television cameras. It happened inside one of Buckingham Palace's private sitting rooms. No reporters, no photographers, no royal ceremony, just three people: King Charles, Queen Camilla, and Princess Anne. The atmosphere was heavy with silence before anyone even spoke. Camilla had one question that had been building inside her ever since the seating plan changed. She looked directly at Anne. Then she asked quietly, "Was this your doing?" It wasn't really about a chair. It wasn't even about one dinner. It was about something much deeper. For years, Camilla had fought to earn public acceptance. She had stood beside Charles through criticism, controversy, and constant media attention. Now, seeing another woman sitting beside the king during one of the biggest royal events felt like history repeating itself. Anne didn't answer immediately. She allowed the silence to settle. Then she calmly replied, "I never asked for that seat. But if the king believes I should stand beside him, I won't refuse." There was no pride in her voice, no excitement, no victory, just duty. That simple answer changed the entire conversation. Charles lowered his eyes. He knew exactly why Anne had been chosen. Finally, the king spoke. The decision came after concerns were raised about maintaining discipline and stability during official engagements. In royal life, public discipline means something very important. It means showing the world that the monarchy is united, organized, and completely in control. The king explained that every public appearance sends a message. Every smile, every handshake, every seat, everything matters. Camilla finally understood. Anne had not replaced her as a wife. She had been trusted as the king's strongest public support during an important state event. Those are two very different things. The room became silent once again. Charles picked up his pen, paused for a moment, then gently placed it back on the table. The seating arrangement will remain unchanged. That sentence ended the discussion. No arguments followed. No one protested, because everyone knew the decision had already been made. But the real reason behind it was even bigger than family emotions. Behind every royal event stands an entire team of palace officials. Protocol advisors, senior courtiers, security experts. They study every detail before an event takes place. For them, the state banquet was not simply a dinner. It was a message to the world. And during a difficult time for the royal family, they believed the king needed someone beside him who represented complete stability. Princess Anne had spent decades quietly serving the crown. She rarely attracted controversy. She never searched for headlines. She simply worked, year after year, without complaint. That reputation mattered. A senior palace advisor reportedly summarized it in one sentence. The king must be flanked by unquestioned steadiness. Those words carried enormous weight. Nobody officially criticized Camilla, but the recommendation clearly pointed toward Anne. Charles understood what accepting that advice would mean. He knew Camilla would be hurt. He knew newspapers would notice. He knew royal watchers would begin asking questions. Yet he still approved the final seating plan. Not because he wanted to embarrass his wife, but because he believed protecting the monarchy came first. Meanwhile, inside Camilla's dressing room, the consequences had already begun. Her evening schedule was quietly updated. Her entrance order changed. Her table position changed. Then came the moment that truly confirmed everything. An aide removed her original seating card and replaced it with the revised version. Camilla watched silently. She didn't argue. She didn't complain. She simply asked one heartbreaking question. Did the king approve this himself? The answer came quietly. Yes, ma'am. For a brief moment, the queen consort looked away, not in anger, but in disappointment, because she realized this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an official royal decision. And before the banquet had even begun, the emotional cost had already been paid. As the time for the state banquet finally arrived, the palace corridors became quiet. Officials took their places. Guests began entering. The orchestra prepared. Everything was ready. Only one decision remained impossible to ignore. Who would walk beside the king? Just minutes before the doors opened. King Charles and Princess Anne found themselves alone in a private corridor. There were no cameras, no advisors, no members of the public, just a brother and sister. Charles looked exhausted. He understood exactly what was about to happen. Once they stepped into the banquet hall, the entire world would notice the new seating arrangement. There would be headlines, questions, speculation, and endless debate. Breaking the silence, Charles spoke softly. I never wanted this to look cruel. It wasn't the voice of a king. It was the voice of a husband. He knew Camilla would be hurt. He knew people would misunderstand his decision, but he also believed that sometimes duty comes before personal feelings. Anne listened quietly. Then she gave the kind of answer she had become famous for throughout her life. History doesn't remember who felt comfortable. It remembers who protected the crown. Charles nodded. He didn't smile. But for a brief moment, the weight on his shoulders seemed a little lighter. Then the palace doors opened. The royal procession began. Guests stood. As the king entered the magnificent banquet hall, every camera turned toward him. Every guest watched carefully, and within seconds, everyone noticed it. Princess Anne was walking beside King Charles. Queen Camilla followed in her assigned position. No announcement was made. No explanation was given. None was needed. The seating arrangement spoke for itself. As dinner began, Anne remained calm and focused. She carried out every royal duty exactly as expected. She greeted guests, supported the king during conversations, maintained the formal rhythm of the evening. Nothing dramatic happened, and perhaps that was exactly the point. The evening remained stable, orderly, professional, everything the palace had hoped for. Across the table, Camilla maintained her composure. She smiled when required. She fulfilled every public responsibility, but royal observers couldn't help noticing the visible distance between her and the king. That single chair became the biggest story of the evening. The next morning, newspapers across Britain carried photographs of the banquet. Almost every headline asked the same question. Why was Princess Anne sitting beside King Charles instead of Queen Camilla? Royal experts quickly offered different opinions. Some believed it reflected Anne's unmatched reputation for duty. Others suggested it was simply a protocol decision for that specific event. And many argued that the palace wanted to project stability during an important diplomatic occasion. Whatever the reason, one thing became clear. Inside the monarchy, small details often carry the biggest messages. A chair, a walk through a hallway, a place at the dinner table. These things may seem ordinary, but inside royal life, they can symbolize trust, responsibility, and the priorities of the crown. Neither Buckingham Palace nor the royal family officially described the seating change as a personal rejection of Queen Camilla. Instead, the event reminded everyone how carefully every royal appearance is planned. Sometimes, history is not written through speeches. Sometimes, it is written through silence, through protocol, and through one carefully chosen seat. Perhaps that is why this state banquet attracted so much attention around the world, because it reminded people that in the royal family, actions often speak louder than words. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal family stories and updates. We'll see you in the next video.